Jesse Waters, who, if you don't know, let's see if we got a picture of him. Jesse Waters, who looks like Hank Kunneman's illegitimate son, Hank Coon from the Flashpoint with Gene the Jesus Machine and Lanny Walnuts. You guys know Hank. Waters looks like, Hank Kunneman looks like, I would say the other way around. Waters looks like Hank Kunneman's stuntman. You know how they find kind of like a younger, less breakable version of the old guy? Like if Hank Kunneman had his own Christian Broadcasting Network version of the movie Taken, where he plays the old gunslinger, for running long, thank you. Oh, thanks, Interweb, Treva. Thank you. And thank you guys for the super chats today. I really appreciate it. Tennessee Cub fan 72, thanks for resubscribing for 15 months. You're one of our longest standing subscribers. I can't on Twitch. I can't thank you enough for hanging in there. Remember, if your Twitch subscription times out, please don't forget to re-up, especially if you use Amazon Prime, because it doesn't cost you anything. If you have Amazon Prime, sign up on twitch.tv/HalSparks and subscribe, and it won't cost you anything. There you go. So thank you. All right. So this is Americans tune out whenever Biden starts talking. Yeah, there's a real lack of us worrying. When Trump talked, everybody was like, fuck, what now? Gene the Jesus Machine. You know who I'm talking about. I should do a whole Flashpoint only show, pretty much. Thank you for being there 13 months. Okay. And 15 cents only 1 month behind. I know, it's great. Bless you. Thank you guys so much. Okay, here we go. Whew. Yeah, so by the way, if you're on YouTube, I stream on twitch.tv/HalSparks, and you can go to fwank.com, FWANQ.com, and that link will take you to my page, and you can subscribe there or follow there, or if you have somebody in the house who has a Twitch account, you can use theirs. You know, a lot of kids have Twitch accounts, but you guys keep us going. You guys make the show possible, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you. So Tucker's on vacation. It's laundry day, and they're doing the whites, and obviously that takes him a lot of time, and it's a lot of heavy lifting. All those sheets, I mean, they're lighter than most sheets by about that much. Thank you so much, Eric. I try. I greatly appreciate you guys being here with me every day and going through this. And again, I'm doing my best to remind you that there is nothing to fear. You got stuff that you got to be concerned about, stuff you have to work on, stuff you need to focus on, stuff that you can contribute to, no question. But if you drop how afraid you feel about it or your anxiety about it, which everybody is trying to heap on top of you, you become more valuable in that circumstance. The person who keeps their cool in the zombie movie is the person who saves more lives. You see what I mean? So in all these times, if I can keep your cool, and yes, it is, even though Tucker is not here today.
I like wood. Deeper and longer.
There you go. Thank you, Giga Patty. That's what I'm here for. I want, anytime you guys are out in the world and some big stressful thing happens, or there's some big political fight that occurs or whatever, and everybody's like, especially around the holidays when families are trying to get along, you can kind of tap the brakes and go, okay, you're being silly, calm down, shut the fuck up, that's a lie, you're silly, this is fine, eat the fucking potatoes. We're going to be fine. And so that the more you can comfortably laugh off some of the stress that's in your life, the more valuable you are everywhere. That's what I want. What do the Twitch channel points do? They contribute to the show. So it's sort of like stars on Facebook. That's where Facebook got the stars idea, was from the bits on Twitch. And so you have to buy some, and then you give them to the show. You can do what they want. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, eat some taters. Exactly. Yes, despair is not an option. We're having too good a time right now. We're not the Donner Party. Stop fucking acting like we're the goddamn Donner Party. We aren't. All right, here we go. Let's see what Jesse Waters. And by the way, this is Jesse Waters. Democrats just want a dictator. Uh-huh. Oh, do we now? I'm sorry. Were we the ones? Weren't you just arguing that We're the ones who voted for a guy who hung out in his basement and we barely showed up and he couldn't have a rally if he wanted to. Meanwhile, you guys are running the guy based on the entire idea that 46,000 people, lonely, desperate Jim Jones types, will drive halfway across the fucking country to watch this asshole ramble through the same stupid speech. But we're the ones who want a dictator. Ah.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. I'm Jesse Waters in for Tucker. Not many people were watching Joe Biden's town hall.
In for Tucker sounds disgusting. I'm just going to say. I'm not here to yuck your yum, but no.
Night. The ratings were absolutely terrible, which isn't surprising at all. Joe Biden's not capable.
Because people watched it online largely or watched clips of it, and it's a sales pitch for a bill that 68% of Americans already support, so it's not like we need to watch it. I watched it.
Thinking clearly, and most Americans recognize that. So they watched football and Fox News instead. But that raises...
Yes, so... and this is, he goes, what am I doing here? That's his phrase when he was like, what's the name of the town? What is it? Long Beach. Long Beach, right. Like he has a moment like that and he does this. Whereas Trump, if he was like, they're like, he forgets Long Beach, he'd call it Lawn Bitch and they'd go, it's Long Beach. And you go, no, actually, I think you'll find it's Lawn Bitch.
Interesting question, which until recently, no one has asked. Given the obvious deterioration of Joe Biden's mind, he now struggles to form coherent sentences. Why?
That's hold on. So if somebody struggles to form coherent sentences, that should be a point of concern.
Bureaucracia. Free health care for illegal. Look. First new branch of the U.S. Armed Forces in 75 years, Space Force. Not since the Air Force. For Iowa values. I don't read, obviously. When they gaze upon Yosemite, voila. And then voila. You're gonna frack. Hydrosonic, I call it super duper. Action replays in magnified fortune.
Yeah, that's
Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused. We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen. Michigan gave us Motown, gave us the Mustang. People coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup. We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
I'm sorry, Jesse, you were saying what?
Have this town hall at all? Why not call another lid at 10 a.m. and send Joe Biden off to the farm in Delaware? One of the few people who tuned in last night, a novelist named Walter Kern, offered a possible
grave deterioration is being thrust in our face. Man, it goes like that whole like shoving it down our throats thing. They have a lot of that. It's thrust in your face, then it was shoved down your throat. I don't know what the syntax is.
Quote, I've never seen anything like this, Kern wrote. At some level, it has to be intentional. No one was clamoring for a town hall. Grave deterioration is being thrust in our face. Cooper is racing through his question as though to keep from laughing. It feels like the work of enemy propagandists.
And of course, Jesse Waters took great offense at that because that's his fucking job.
Made that observation in response to this clip from last night's town hall, which we promise we haven't edited in any way.
With just in terms of inflation, because you had told us at a town hall, I think it was in July, that this was just near-term inflation. The Wall Street Journal recently talked to like 67 financial experts who said that they saw high inflation going all the way or deep into 2022.
Joe Biden just stands.
Hold on, hold for a second there, kiddo. He's waiting for the question to end, and then he fucking answers it. Why don't you show his answer, asshole? Because the answer totally shits all over your stupid argument. Because I know that's, that got memed, and that's fine. I mean, he was Pelotoning, clearly. But even this, he's like, you could tell he thought it was a short question, so he's like, all right, hit me with it. and then he like starts to, and then he goes back to what he's doing. He's just finishing listening. All right, here we go. It's fucking stupid.
For nearly
But this
20
is the panic.
seconds with his hands locked.
Wait a minute. Nearly 20 seconds. And then he gave a cogent answer about inflation. Meanwhile,
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges, the Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese. To me, Corona means Italy.
mm-hmm.
So we're going to get it going to a level that nobody can ever turn course on us, nobody can ever change. Winston Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, 20 seconds of what? 20 seconds of what?
When they gaze upon Yosemite, the sand was loaded up with blood. Immortal principles. Some people agree and many people don't agree, but I think most people very much agree. You're going to frack.
Uh-huh.
They don't like the gas.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, tell me again what he failed to. Oh, by the way, let's see. Biden. Whoops, beg your pardon. Biden, CNN, town hall. Let's see. I have to find. Hold on. Here we go. This is the CNN one. Hold on a second. Hold on. Pausing. This is the. See if we can get this guy right here. We talk about this stuff. Hold on. Try to find this. They talk about. I bet I could find the thing based on how his hands are being held. There you go. By the way, an hour and 15 minutes. Here we go. Hour and 15 minutes. Presidential town hall about the Build Back Better plan and taking questions from both the audience and from him and discussing these things. And they go back and then they get back to this point where at the near the end, I think he asked him about. Let's see. Yeah, this is smiling, talking, fine. It was good, and da 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 da. Let's see where. The question about, was it near the end? Is it just his tailing question about? Let's see. Shit. Is it early? Where was it? Well, here you go. Here's let's see. We'll just needle drop it.
As well, given all the negotiations that are going on, will all three of those still be covered?
Hang on. He had his hands in his pockets for like 8 seconds.
And the reason why it's a reach, it's not this. I think it's a good idea, and it's not that costly in relative terms, especially if we allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. But here's the thing: Mr. Manchin is opposed to that, as is I think Senator Sinema is as well.
Opposed to all of them?
Opposed to all three, because they don't want. He says he doesn't want to further burden Medicare, so that because it will run out of its ability to maintain itself in X number of years. There's ways to fix that, but not interested in that part either. But look, Joe's not a bad guy. I mean, he's a friend, and he's always, at the end of the day, come around and voted for it. But here's the point: we're in a situation now where if you are in a circumstance that you're not able to provide. Well, let me cut to the chase. I'm taking too long. One of the things we're able to do in the meantime is the most expensive of these things would be dental. Okay? Now, we're talking about, don't have a deal on it yet, maybe getting an $800 voucher from Medicare for dental work that you may need. And the hearing is a very important thing because, as Kristen Sinema, who supports this, points out, hearing is directly related to dementia. When you can't hear, you have a problem, and it impacts on dementia. So we're able to, and it's cheaper to be able to take care of the hearing, but I think I've been able to take care of that without changing Medicare, because what's happening is now you have these hearing aid companies. You no longer are going to have to go to the doctor and spend $5 grand and get it. You can go and buy at Walgreens and buy over-the-counter hearing aids. So the harder one, though, is we haven't gotten a consensus yet on how to deal with seeing glasses, and but that's so it's not done yet. Is the answer?
All right. I want to get another question, and this is for.
So speaking like a senator about all these things, that was good. So the issue is that dental, it'll be an $800 voucher. That's what they're trying to work on right now. They fixed the hearing aid part by them not costing $5,000, and you can go and attenuate them anyways because you can do the volume yourself, and you can do it with an app. You can buy those for $300 or $500, and you could probably get people a voucher for that as well, depending on what their insurance will cover. And those have come down in price immensely because they allow them to be sold. That was part of an earlier bill anyways. And then, of course, vision's going to be the one thing that they shake out over then. But, you know, the cost of readers versus surgery versus people who have, macular degeneration with age. You can buy $4 readers at Walmart now, which is wholly different than it was, 30 years ago. You can get a tooth pulled here in Mexico for $60. Yeah, but then they want you to put fentanyl in it and sneak back across the border. So, I'm kidding.
Senator Manchin is not. It gets to our next question. This is from Kobe Kong. He's originally from Anaheim, California. He's a sophomore class president at Johns Hopkins University in Denver.
See, smiling at the kid. And
Kobe, what's your question?
Mr. President.
One of the largest.
See, he's smiling and nice to the kid. They're not going to show that clip. They're going to show him looking down, or a freeze frame of him looking down while he's talking and go, he fell asleep, right? That's the whole bullshit. Let's see. What is this? Do we hear? See if I can. I'm trying to find here he's got his hands in his pocket and he's kind of sashaying around. This all seems far too normal. And there's a reason why in an hour and 14 minutes, Jesse Waters has to focus on what is effectively 20 seconds.
Alternate, whether or not we just end the filibuster straight up. There's certain things that are just sacred rights. One's a sacred obligation that we never going to renege on a debt. We're the only nation in the world. We have never, ever reneged on a single debt.
But when it comes to voting rights...
Voting rights is equally as consequential.
When it comes to voting rights, just so I'm clear, though, you would entertain the notion of doing away with the filibuster on that one issue? Is that correct?
And maybe more.
And maybe other issues.
Yeah, they're discussing it. They're not where they need to be yet, and it will depend on if it gets through. Or if, what progress they can make on it. It has to be extraordinary. That's what they're talking about. By the way, here he is.
Because of the extent of the continued extent of COVID in those countries from which people are coming. It's very, very high. And so we maintain the policy. We're not sending back children. We send back adults and we send back large families, but we don't send back children in that circumstance. And so that's why I have a proposal to provide for over 1 billion doses of COVID vaccine to the rest of the world, including a significant portion to Latin and Central America.
Do you have plans to visit the southern border?
I've been there before, and I haven't. I mean, I know it well. I guess I should go down, but the whole point of it is I haven't had a whole hell of a lot of time to get down. I've been spending time going around looking at the $900 billion worth of damage done by hurricanes and floods and weather and traveling around the world. But I plan on, now my wife Jill has been down. She's been on both sides of the river. She's seen the circumstances there. She's looked into those places.
Like this is so normal. But again, so from this, they get 20 seconds. This is the whole thing. This is a 10-minute segment on 20 seconds of an hour and 15 minutes.
The 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position. Watching that, it's hard not to wonder. Did Joe Biden know where he was? Did he think he was piloting?
Hey, dumb fuck, I got a good idea. Play the answer he gave after the question was done. I mean, it would be a simple solution, right? One would think. I've been trying to find the clip
Those old
where that
Amtrak
was.
trains right there on stage. Did he convince himself he was really back on the meat?
No, it's adorable. Play his answer. I'm scrolling through trying to find the clip. Hopefully that I'll land on it. But it's hard because he answers a lot of questions from the audience. Let's see. How about
Welcome
this?
back. We are live at a CNN Town Hall event in Baltimore, Maryland, with President Joe Biden.
Does he even know who he's waving at? Or is there even a balcony there? He's probably waving at the lights.
So before we get to our next question, I want to just bring up the current labor market shortages. Millions of jobs are unfilled. Businesses are struggling to meet demand. Is there anything you can do to either encourage people to go back to work or make jobs more attractive that they want to go back to work?
Yeah,
Is there
so
a role for the federal
first
government?
of all, we've created more jobs in the first 8 months of my administration than any president in American history. Total number of jobs created. But the problem for the people not going back to work is twofold. Number one, they're reluctant to go back to work because they're afraid of COVID, many of them. So they don't want to go back, and they don't want to be exposed either to customers because they're not required to wear masks or not required to have shots, or they don't want to go back because they're not sure the people waiting on them at the table or the people coming up in the food market. So a lot of it has to do with COVID, number one. Number two, and that's why, we were able to go from when I first was elected, there were only 2 million people who had COVID shots in the United States of America, had the vaccine. Now we got 190 million because I went out and bought everything I could do and buy in sight, and it worked. But here's the deal. The second thing that's happened, Anderson, is that people are now using negotiation that is...
Nope. I mean, there's a lot of... let's see. Maybe it's the questions. Can I take people job openings? Or is there other questions? Let's see. Plans by squeeze rising gasoline. Okay, this might be it. This is about inflation. So did he ask him there? I'm trying to find that moment, and it's hard because it's 20 fucking sec. Here we go. This might be it. Hold on.
A little space.
Let me ask you about that with just in terms of inflation, because
so he's about to gesture
us at a town hall. I think it was in July that this was just near-term inflation. The Wall Street Journal recently talked to like 67 financial experts who said that they saw high inflation going all the way or deep into 2022. Do you think it's going to last for a while?
I don't think so. I don't think it will last. Depending what we do, if we stay exactly where we are, yes. If we don't make these investments, yes.
What about gas prices? Because some states are seeing...
Gas prices relate to a foreign policy initiative that is about something that goes beyond the cost of gas. And we're about $3.30 a gallon most places now, when it's was down in the single digits. I mean, a dollar plus. And that's because of the supply being withheld by OPEC. And so there's a lot of negotiation that is, there's a lot of Middle Eastern folks want to talk to me. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I'm going to talk to them, but the point is, it's about gas production. There's things we can do in the meantime, though.
Do you think do you have a timeline for gas prices of when you think they may start coming down?
My guess is you'll start to see gas prices come down as we get by and going into the into next year in 2022. I don't see anything that's going to happen in the meantime that's going to significantly reduce gas prices. But for example, for natural gas to heat your homes as winter's coming, there's a lot of what people don't realize. We put in billions of dollars in what they call LIHEAP. LIHEAP is the provision whereby you're able to get funding from the federal government based upon your need to heat your home, and it's subsidized in a significant way. And there's billions of dollars we have passed.
Okay, so that was the entirety of it. He was talking in this second. He's like, okay, I was gonna do something, and you interrupt me. Okay, I'm listening. Where are you going with this? Okay, so here's like the entire and understand this is they froze on this, didn't show the answer. I mean, this just shows you that Fox, amongst other things, like the fact that they have a vaccine mandate while decrying it elsewhere, is a lying machine, and that Jesse Waters is a coward and a fool and sells this bullshit because this is what their audience wants to see. There you go.
Legislation I got passed in.
Oh, sorry. This is the wrong one. It triggers this video. Here you go. Whoops. Hold on. Quit it. There you go.
Streets of Delaware, driving his 67 Stingray to a throwdown with corn pop, aviators and metal chain and.
Yeah, no, it's adorable. The metal chain between his hands graphic. I mean, hey, congratulations to whoever on Fiverr did this. I hope they paid you in cash.
Oh. The road in Joe Biden's mind was obviously long and treacherous, hence the claim.
Yeah, and by the way, Jesse, did you cover
Action replays in magnified fortune.
Did you break down what that was? Because I understand that Biden froze his hands for a minute while he was listening, and that was weird for you. But not all that strange when you're paying attention and you know that movement whilst you're listening to someone is often construed as not listening. So that's, political training will sometimes do that to you. It's like why Al Gore was so wooden was because he actually listened and paid attention to the notes people said, where everybody was like, hey, giving the thumbs up is a fuck you in the Middle East. So you might want to do this, and you don't chop straight down. You could do it at an angle. And so after a while, like Al Gore listened to all those things and it was around Bill Clinton and was wooden. He was stiff because he didn't want to gesture the wrong thing as a functional vice president. Meanwhile, Jesse Waters goes after a moment in an hour and 15 minutes where Biden isn't speaking while he's listening to a question, freezes before the answer because he's a coward and a fool and a racist, as we've seen. And then never, ever, ever will cover this.
Action replays in magnified fortune.
Just happened. Literally, that just happened. He also made up a new word.
They're de-engineering.
De-engineering is what the Chinese government is doing with technology. They're de-engineering it. And of course...
People want other people to stop shooting and knifing people to death.
Yes, while true, what the fuck are you talking about? But I'm sorry, Jesse Waters.
Action
can you
replays
explain?
in magnified fortune.
You could break that down for us, or how do you spell this?
Look.
Maybe it'll help here.
Free health care for illegal. Look.
Yeah. Spell that for me. How many L's and I's in that, Jesse? You fucking stooge.
Grip. The moderator on the stage, as Walter Kern pointed out, tried his hardest not to notice any of this. But it was noticeable to everybody who watched the town hall last night. Joe Biden.
Was this noticeable?
They do action replays in magnified fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Handlers knew something like this would happen, and they sent him out there anyway. Things became so confusing for Joe Biden last night. At one point, he literally stopped mid-sentence and asked, and we're quoting, "What am I doing here?"
No, he didn't stop mid-sentence. He said the port in Los Angeles and in, what am I doing here? And somebody said Long Beach. He's like, Long Beach, right. That's just his way of saying, what was I thinking? What's the name of the thing? Also, somebody who has a stutter will often have to, when they run aground of a word they can't think of or that's blocking, they will have to go around or find another word in the cul-de-sac to get out. And that's something that most people don't understand. You can talk to Stuttering John about that, or other people who have stutters and they deal with this shit all the time. It's not that weird. And we've all done it. We've all gone, what the fuck is the name? Who the shit? How many of you have walked through a grocery store aisle and you're like, Barbara Eden, fucking hell. That's what her name was.
40% of all products coming into the United States of America on the West Coast go through Los Angeles and what am I doing here?
Is it Long Beach?
Long Beach, thank you.
Obviously,
Yeah, right. Yes. He forgot that he was thinking about a bunch of shit and went, what's Long Beach? Long Beach, right. Fucking Long Beach. And anybody who is afraid of having that moment is more of a concern to me, because Trump again would have said, lean bitch. What's it? Lawn bitch. It comes into lawn bitch. You're like, actually, it's Long Beach. No, actually, if you know, it's actually both.
Not Joe Biden's fault. He's in mental decline, but the political opportunists who made Joe Biden president.
Yeah, it's a shame when somebody is.
For Iowa values, military institutions and their installations. Climb over each other's face. You can climb right over their face. You don't have to wear masks. You don't have to do anything. To me, Corona means Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get it going to a level that nobody can ever turn course on us. Nobody can ever change. They just explode.
Mm-hmm.
Hydrosonic. I call it super duper. He meant explosive in terms of fire. Voila.
Voila. Mm-hmm. Sorry, his handlers do what? Sorry, someone's forcing a former president to go out in front of groups of people and embarrass himself, even though they know he's in mental decline. It's been a while since I've been to Iowa, but I'll take your word for it.
The United States, people like Jill Biden and Susan Rice and so on, are responsible for this. They lied for years about Joe Biden's conditions so that they could obtain.
Biden is being manipulated by opportunists. I see.
Power.
They're
now that they have that
you have to
power,
understand. It's that Fox is concerned for his well-being, and he's diminished. So women are running the country from behind the scenes.
Us aware who's really
nightmare.
in charge. It's not Joe Biden. The point of last night's town hall was to make.
Please, are you telling me it's Jill Biden? Because don't threaten me with a good time. She's a good person.
Undeniable. He doesn't have any comprehension of any of the problems this country's facing. Asked about the fact that hundreds of thousands of.
Mm-hmm. Did he say that? Is that picture from that night? Is that what that's from?
Illegal immigrants are entering this country unimpeded, for example. Joe Biden started lying uncontrollably. First, he claimed he's been to the border and knows it well. But there's no record Joe Biden's ever visited the southern border, not as president, not as vice president, not as senator, and not as a citizen. Today, Fox's Peter Doocy asks Joe Biden's flack about that.
There's been reporting that he did drive through the border when he was on the campaign trail in 2008, and he is certainly familiar with the fact, and it stuck with.
Right. And while he was vice president, they're not taking an official trip. They go down there on unofficial trips. This is not.
And with the fact that in El Paso, the border goes right through the center of town.
So we looked into this. In 2008, Joe Biden flew into El Paso and then drove to New Mexico for a political rally. He never visited the border. He didn't even drive through it. If Joe Biden saw the border.
Can you go to El Paso and drive around with a contingent and talk to people or have meetings there with both donors and the Customs and Border Patrol? How much are you avoiding it? 3 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles? Did he go down like Ted Cruz and use drone footage to make a political ad for himself? No, he hasn't done that.
At all, it was in his rearview mirror. So this is just another lie. But even if you believe the lie, the White House's explanation.
Yes, El Paso is the border, exactly.
It still makes no sense. They're saying Joe Biden drove.
And by the way, the picture of the ice cream and the kind of stuff, this makes this is the kind of graphic you'd see on, when people are going, Tucker, Maddow, it's the same thing. They're both on the same, they do this crazy thing where they're basically the same on either side of the aisle. There's no difference or whatever. Where the fuck have you ever seen a shot of, and I would be for it in some degree, but you haven't seen it, of Maddow having a picture of Donald Trump like fondling his daughter while a building is burning behind them.
Through the border one time, more than a decade ago, on his way to somewhere else. According to
Trump's been to the border a bunch of times, and still his wall doesn't fucking work.
White House, that means he's an expert, and he doesn't have any reason to visit the border now that he's president of the United States. This is so absurd that it's.
what's he going to go down there and go, oh shit, somebody left the screen door open?
Obvious, no one in the White House really believes it. Again, they're rubbing this in our faces. Joe Biden is not in control.
Excuse me, it's not being rubbed in your face. It's being shoved in your face and then shoved down your throat. I don't know. I think after they shove it down your throat, then he pulls it out and rubs it on your face.
That's
What do
why
you do
none
for
of
your
these
throat so you can talk
excuses
for
make any sense.
Proper breathing. I sit on a stool, quite frankly, so that I can, and I also don't eat a lot before the show so that I avoid any kind of acid reflux. That was a super chat question, and I'm glad to answer it.
Not a single one. At the town hall last night, Joe Biden offered a totally different explanation. He said he can't visit the border because he's just too busy.
Do you have plans to visit the southern border?
I've been there before, and I haven't. I mean, I know it well. I guess I should go down, but the whole point of it is I haven't had a whole hell of a lot of time to get down.
Joe Biden doesn't have time to visit the border. Meanwhile,
No, he doesn't. He's about to get the biggest infrastructure bill in 40 years passed. He just got the largest rescue package passed, which no one said he could do. Everyone said he couldn't do, $1.9 trillion. The Build Back Better plan is also going to get passed, probably 1.7. That's going to be my magic number, I think. Stays under 1.9. Doesn't look like it's edging towards 2. Lays the groundwork for the programs itself and keeps them online. So between 1.5 and 1.7, both of those will get passed, as will the raising of the debt ceiling. They've been talking about this because of Manchin and Sinema. There's been a lot of back and forth on this. He's also selling the plan to the American people, so he's going around there, and nothing would... There is zero physical benefit from him showing up down there and pointing at it, other than giving you assholes footage for anything that happens down there. We're like, he came down here and pointed at the goddamn thing, and now we've got a bunch of Haitians here again.
According to the White House, Joe Biden is going to spend this weekend on vacation in Delaware. The only conclusion anybody can reasonably draw from all of this is that
he's trying to beat Trump's golf record, and he never will.
Joe Biden isn't really running things. And Joe Biden...
Sorry, how many dignified transfers of army and military corpses did Trump attend? When did he stop, Jesse? When did he stop going, and why? There were 94 of them, I think, somewhere along those lines, of those exchanges. He went to 4 of them. And it's not a vacation. He's just going home for the weekend. Exactly.
At various points last night admitted that. Asked about inflation, including higher gas prices, Joe Biden straight up acknowledged that he has no idea what to do about it.
Do you have a timeline for gas prices of when you think they may start coming down?
My guess is you'll start to see gas prices come down as we get by and going into the into next year in 2022. I don't see anything that's going to happen in the meantime that's going to significantly reduce gas prices. I don't have...
Yeah, it's a supply issue.
A near-term answer.
I don't have a near-term answer.
Do you? What's the near-term answer? Jesse, it's that easy, man. What's going to make Chevron and Exxon and all these companies who didn't make any money last year and were falling behind and oil was at negative $30 a barrel not charge more to process and transport oil, especially when there's a lack of ships world over, and OPEC and Russia are intentionally lowering the amount of oil in the market so that we crank ours up and use up all of our stores. And also, while they're denying Europe that our companies, Exxon, the BP American affiliates, and of course Chevron, are all selling to Europe at a higher price than they would to Americans because they can make more money. It is a commodity. It is not. And by the way, make no mistake, this is Jesse Waters and Fox News arguing for the socialism of the state taking over the production of oil and gas. What Jesse Waters is insisting on is that we have a more Venezuelan energy policy.
In reality, Joe Biden's handlers have been begging OPEC to produce more oil and send it to us.
Well, no, they don't send it to us. They send it to Europe. We make our own. But our companies are selling to Europe at a higher price.
They've been refusing. That's the real near-term answer, and it's been a disaster. This country...
So what do we do? What do we do? Strafe bomb them? Is it because we should have stayed in Afghanistan and kept the oil? There's no oil in Afghanistan. Well, we could make oil, maybe out of poppies.
Energy independent when Joe Biden took office, and it's not anymore. It's not clear Joe.
Well, no one was. It's easy to be energy independent when gas is $1.60 because no one's going anywhere.
Biden realizes that, but if there's one thing Joe Biden knows well, it's how to deflect from his own failures. That's instinctual for Joe Biden. He doesn't even need to know where he is or what's happening around him. He'll just do it. So last night, Joe Biden identified the real threat this country's facing: first responders and police officers. They're refusing to take the COVID vaccine, so they're to blame for all that's wrong with America, Joe Biden said.
Is that what he said? Please play a clip that he says that first responders who don't get vaccinated are the reason for America's problems.
And they should be fired.
As many as 1 in 3 emergency responders in some cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, right here in Baltimore, are refusing to comply with city vaccine mandates. I'm wondering where you stand on that. Should police officers,
city vaccine mandates? Okay, not a federal one? I see.
Responders
yes, I'm going long today. I'll be done with this one in a minute.
Mandated to get vaccines, and if not, should they be stay at home or let go?
Yes and yes.
You hear that applause right there? And you realize that a lot of people are willing to put up with a dementia patient in the White House as long as he destroys their political opponents.
I'm sorry, those aren't political opponents. Those are anti-vaxxers. Why would you assume that these anti-vaxxers, considering the number of, say, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. followers who, leans left on everything else, and Marianne Williamson supporters who are lean left on everything else, are amongst the people who won't get vaccinated and who foment the anti-vax movement? Why would you assume that they're automatically Trump supporters, other than the fact that most morons are?
Last night's town hall demonstrated, among other things, that authoritarianism is far more popular in the Democratic Party than most Americans realize. Remember when Donald Trump warned the Democrats were going to start destroying statues of our founding fathers? Donald Trump was mocked for that. But last night, Joe Biden said he'd be okay with destroying statues of Thomas Jefferson, and no one even batted an eye.
New York City is removing a statue of Thomas Jefferson from its legislative chamber because of Jefferson's history as a slaveholder. Do you support that decision?
Well, I think that's up to the locality to decide what they want to do on that.
Thomas Jefferson was...
Yes, but for the record, I think it's up to the locality to decide what they want to do about that. Jesse Waters wants the federal government to tell cities and states what statues they can and cannot have in their cities and states. Think about that for 1 second. That the president is saying, if a city wants to take down a statue, that's up to them and their local, that's not room for the federal government to make that decision, nor is it his. But Jesse Waters thinks it is. Remember what this clip is called. Jesse Waters, Democrats just want a dictator. Meanwhile, Jesse Waters is arguing that the president of the United States should be able to and must dictate what statues you can have in your city, your state, or your state house, or in your legislative building, or on your street corners, or whatever they are. That should be up to the federal government to make you keep certain statues and put, kind of like a, I don't know, Kim Jong-un kind of a policy. Kind of a CCP policy. That's what Jesse Waters and Fox News is for.
Principal author of the Declaration of Independence, the document that freed Americans from Great Britain.
Yes, and that also set up a federalist system where the federal government can't tell the states what fucking statues they can have, even when they're of him, you fucking moron.
A lot of Democrats want Thomas Jefferson's statue destroyed, and Joe Biden isn't going to stop them. Are you?
Yeah, he can't, because of the very freedoms that Jefferson helped craft. The irony. See how that works? See how the removal of the Jefferson statue actually makes Jefferson a more important figure, not a less important figure. Kind of like the American flag. If you burn it, it actually gives it more meaning because you can burn it. It represents freedom even at its own expense. And the same thing is true of a Jefferson statue. Jefferson was a man beyond his time because he literally crafted the Constitution, which allows for the removal of his statue if the people don't want it there. As a matter of fact, literally, the very act of removing the Jefferson statue proves the importance of Thomas Jefferson. Prove me wrong. And burning the American flag does not desecrate the American flag and all it stands for. It literally codifies it. The American flag is the only flag that does that. That's what makes it extraordinary, is that people can stomp on it and burn it, and it still shows that even in this country, one of the greatest things about it is that we can have redress against our government. We can show our displeasure as long as we physically harm no other person in that process. And the flag, as an emblem of that, literally is strengthened by everyone who desecrates it. It's incredible. Meanwhile, this asshole wants you to forget that in the where is it? Let's see. Let's scroll through here, if I may. That Trump's website, unlike the Great American Flag, does not allow you to disparage, tarnish, or otherwise harm, in their opinion, them or the site. If there was a digital, as it were, statue of Trump in the Truth site, you do not have the right to take it down. Because it's un-American. Because it is anti-First Amendment. It is ridiculous to assert otherwise. Meanwhile, this statue of Thomas Jefferson, if you guys want a place to put it, I'll take it.
Surprised by that? You shouldn't be. At one point, the town hall audience last...
And by the way, if he was a king, he could remove all the statues of Thomas Jefferson by fiat and insist that they either be removed or put there. He could also insist on statues of himself everywhere, but he is doing no such thing. There is no such thing as a king who has ever said, let the states do what they want, especially when it comes to statues of moi.
Laughed at the very idea of freedom. You want your constitutional and God-given right to self-determination? Joe Biden and his followers think it's a punchline.
Look, the two things that concern me, one are those who just try to make this a political issue. Freedom.
Yeah, you mean Jesse Waters?
Freedom to kill you with my COVID. No, I mean, come on, freedom.
This kind of thing happened again and again. Later on, Joe Biden again suggested...
Yes, Jesse. What he's doing there is calling out your bullshit. The punchline about that is you and people like Dan Bongino crying freedom when in reality, they don't give a shit about it when it makes them a paycheck. And they sell this idea that it's the freedom to say no, except when they're at Fox News where they have to say yes or they won't get paid. But they get paid to tell everybody else not to do it.
Rid of the filibuster, and the crowd loved it. As long as he's talking about crushing his political enemies, they're on board. They'll forgive anything, even obvious.
Well, why would that crush your physical enemies? What in the world would that do? All right, I'm almost done, I promise.
For weeks, Joe Biden has claimed that this network, Fox News, mandates that its employees take the COVID shot. That's never been true. But last night, Joe Biden once again repeated the lie. Yeah,
it is true. You can quit. Obviously, it doesn't mandate that you do it at home.
Things I find. Do you realize they mandate vaccinations?
At Fox headquarters.
Yeah. I find that mildly fascinating.
You find that mildly fascinating.
Mildly fascinating.
And the crowd just nods their heads. The moderator agrees. No one corrects the lie. To be clear, not a single person has been fired from Fox for refusing to get vaccinated, period.
No.
After this town hall, two things are clear. First, Joe Biden's not capable of...
No, sorry. They didn't get fired. They were allowed to resign. No one's been fired for refusing. No, we'll just let you go. You can't work here because we got more than 100. It's not us. It's the federal government. We got more than 100 employees. So you can get vaccinated. We'll do it for free. We'll get it. Like, that's not even the point that no one got fired. The truth is everybody at Fox willingly got vaccinated. There are no anti-vaxxers at Fox News. That's why nobody got fired. They didn't have to. Because you're all fucking liars.
Thinking clearly. And most Americans recognize.
Fox has a mandate. It has a mandate. You must get vaccinated if you work at Fox headquarters or at the Fox News building. Saying that we don't have a mandate for our man on the street stand-ups if somebody goes up and we hire a secondary group or something like that is not the same thing. You go into Fox building, you have to have the vaccine to work there. I don't know what the rules are with guests, but I'm guessing you either have to show a COVID negative test or you have to be vaccinated or both.
Can't watch these clips and come to any other conclusion. But as a way to signal the authority of our actual leaders, the authoritarians who write the executive orders and pass the legislation.
You know, the authoritarians who won't force New York to maintain statues of the founding fathers against their will.
Tonight's town hall was an unequivocal success. It turns out that their agenda is more popular among Democrats than we thought. Many Democrats now applaud disinformation. They cheer for authoritarianism. They don't care if their dictator lies.
Sorry, what authoritarian thing were they cheering for? What was the authoritarian thing?
Visiting the border, or thinks he's driving a car in the middle of a nationally televised town hall. They just want a dictator.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
Hey, click here. You know, follow the dictates of a man who looks like a fire plug with a toupee. Yeah, apparently we want a dictator because we won't show up at Biden's gatherings or some shit. It's difficult to quite pin down, but I think it was important to go through because this is the story now. Remember, January 6th was about them fighting back against tyranny, right? This is tyranny. Pol Pot level shit. FEMA camps, right? That we're going to round people up. That we're trying to wipe people out. That this is murder. That these people, the QAnon crowd, they all buy this shit. And they believe that the Democrats are an authoritarian regime. They even use the word, Matt Gaetz uses regime, so does MTG. They call it a regime. They talk about it like, Gaddafi or something like that. And that's what they sell. They're a part of it. They know that they have representative government and their vote matters, and they just don't have, because they're in the House, they're outvoted most of the time. Unless they presented something that was bipartisan for it, but they can't do that because they must show fealty to Donald Trump. But we're the ones that want a dictator. We are. Well, I got news for you. One of the reasons why Trump's news, his news conferences and stuff would be, high ratings gatherings was because half the audience were clinging to every word of their dictator, and the other half were like, fuck, what's this asshole going to do today? And the reason why Biden doesn't have those kind of numbers is because you don't have to worry about it. The American people should not be white-knuckling everything that goes on in their fucking government. And quite frankly, right now, they aren't. The American people are not going, fuck. They didn't go... watch the Biden town hall because fuck, who's he going to start a war with now? Shit. You don't have to worry about it. If there's news made by it in terms of policy or that kind of stuff, they'll check it out later. They can get on with their fucking lives. But Trump can't have it that way. His family can't have it that way. The Republicans can't have it that way. They have to keep you on the hook all the time. Filled with anxiety, worried for tomorrow, fearful of the other, scared the border's going to be overrun, scared the UN's going to take over the country and send shock troops to round you up and put you in a fucking camp and replace you with a Hispanic worker doing some shit that you apparently are uniquely qualified to do, but they can find an immigrant that can't speak English that can do it just as well. It's like, and then we all look at Biden when he's, you know, doing work or whatever. We're like, good, okay, cool. Can I go back to doing what the fuck I was doing? But Trump and the Republicans cannot operate if you guys have something better to do.